Good afternoon to everybody. Today we have the Berry Talks number 11, episode number 11. This is the series. Today we have Thomas, our colleague, and two other members of the conversation. Thomas, how's everything?
Hi, George. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm fine, thanks. We are broadcasting from sunny Italy. We are in the full swing of our blueberry season from the north. And today I'm happy to host two very important players of the blueberry industry. We have today on stage Roger Horak, founder of United Exports and co-owner of Ozblu, and Nikos Genalis, operation manager for United Exports for Europe and MENA countries. Hello everyone, thanks for joining us and accepting our invitation to our Berry Talks. Firstly, I would like to start with Roger. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience and say some few words about who you are and what is your role in the company today?
Thanks, Thomas, and thanks for having us, Jorge. So my name is Roger Horak. I am the founder and owner of United Exports. I founded the company in 2002. We initially were focused on developing proprietary stone fruit varieties, so mainly peaches and nectarines. That journey led me to Dave Mazardis, who was a breeder in Australia, focusing on low-chill stone fruit. And his success on the stone fruit is really what encouraged me to invest in both the stone fruit breeding program, but also the blueberry breeding program, which allowed him to focus more on breeding and less on the farming side. The end result was Dave breeding these amazing blueberry varieties that we co-owned together. We house the blueberry varieties in two companies called Early Blue and Next Progeny, and jointly we commercialize the varieties that we produce under our brand, which is Ozblu. Our own farms account for roughly 70% of our production globally, with the balance being third-party growers. We currently have production on our varieties in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Morocco, Portugal, Spain, and then finally across the Americas in the USA, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. My role is still to guide the business globally and basically ensure that we develop the varieties in Ozblu into the potential that we believe is there to achieve.
Thank you very much, Roger. And Nikos, can you introduce yourself? You are based in Europe, aren't you?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So my name is Nikos Genalis. I've been working for United Exports for almost 4.5 years now. My responsibility is to develop the business in the Northern Hemisphere, so mainly Southern Europe and Northern Africa, and partly in Middle East. So the idea is, as Roger previously mentioned, we have a strong position in Southern Africa. So we are producing for more or less the 6 months. And the idea is to close the supply in order to be able to supply year-round to our retailers, mainly in the UK and in Europe. So through the development of the proprietary Ozblu varieties in Morocco, Spain, and Portugal, we hope to close that gap and offer continuity of these premium varieties year-round. Again, it will be the same genetics that's being produced in the Southern Hemisphere that we'll be producing here in the Northern Hemisphere. So at the moment, the majority of our plantations are in Morocco because of its obviously strategic position for timing, production costs, and they are able to produce really superior blueberry varieties to supply to our clients. But again, we continue to expand, to look for new production areas, in order to have a stronger presence.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nikos, this is a question for both of you. Ozblu is perceived as consumers. We see Ozblu always as an exquisite brand, like a premium brand on the market. Can you talk about more about the value of this that this could distinguish from other brands or from other known varieties? Roger, question you can start, then Nikos.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Help
Okay.
to improve the.
So the Ozblu brand represents varieties bred by Dave Mazardis and commercially grown according to United Exports developed agronomical procedures and recipes. We don't allow any blueberries that don't meet both these criteria to be marketed under the brand. We believe by controlling both the varieties that are sold under the brand and the method that the production method that the varieties are grown by, that we ensure the customers receive the right quality product. And in so doing basically have faith in the brand when they buy our blueberries. One of the key problems that you always see across the marketplace is customers' dissatisfaction or disappointment when they pick up a punnet of blueberries and it doesn't deliver value for the money that they've paid for it. So by sort of combining both these aspects, we believe, and we've seen that growers get the faith in the brand to pick it up and to buy and to repurchase. The brand itself and the way that has got to deliver constant flavor, and we believe by limiting it to the varieties that we put in there, that our customers will keep coming back. I don't believe there's another brand in the marketplace globally that actually has that ability at this stage where they only sell, we believe we're the only company that sells varieties that are bred by a single breeding program and grown according to specific recipes. And we believe that will keep Ozblu in the premium segment for many years to come.
George, if I may add,
Nikos,
yeah,
you can also complement the answer from.
Yeah, so just to follow on, so this is something I always do during the season is I like to go to
You can complement the answer from.
Yep. So this is something I like to do very much when we are supplying fruits to especially retailers in Spain where I live. I like to go to visit the stores to see a little bit the way people are purchasing the Ozblu varieties and to see if they perceive that we are a company which supplies consistent high quality berries, and this you can see in the way people are purchasing from the shelves. So if they feel that they can trust the brand and trust the consistency, then people pick up a punnet of fruit directly from the shelf and put it inside the basket or the trolley. Or if they don't, then often you will see them, they will pick it up and they will be looking underneath and inside and all around because obviously they've had a bad experience. So this is something I like to observe and often speak to consumers in the supermarkets to understand what exactly they value with our blueberries, to give this feedback to the breeder. And then, George, I think what we can say is that obviously first time people make a purchase, they make a purchase with their eyes. So they like to see large berries with good bloom, uniformity in the size. And again, the fruit have a good aspect of freshness, inviting them to purchase. But again, if that experience once they get home is disappointing because of the flavor, because of the lack of crunch, then obviously that purchase will not be repeated the following week. and potentially that customer will not come back and repeat that purchase for 6 weeks. So this is obviously very detrimental both to us as growers, suppliers, but also to the retailer. So it's extremely important that we have very, very strict quality control measures and ensure that only the premium berries are supplied and packed under the Ozblu brand. So for me, the question of flavor is number one, which is a key driver to repeat the purchase, but obviously bloom, crunch, size, and shelf life, as many of our fruit is being supplied from Southern Hemisphere with 35, 40, 45 days traveling from the moment of harvest to the moment of delivery to the consumer's table.
Thank you, Nikos. It's a great introduction from the conversation. Now we're going to step further to the information of the market trends done by Thomas in a few minutes.
The last few weeks have seen a dramatic change in the blueberry market. We have gone from a situation right from the beginning of the season of the Northern Hemisphere, in particular from Spain and Morocco, where the season was late. There have been issues with availability, with quality, and it was very difficult to manage on the markets. The prices were high and everybody was nervous. We have now quickly moved from that situation, which has involved also the start of the northern crop from Italy, into a situation where the market is changing rapidly. And now we are going back to some sort of normality with more availability of fruit from the late areas in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm talking about Portugal, the north of Spain, Italy, and Eastern Europe countries, mostly Serbia, Romania, and Georgia. There is now more fruit available on the market. Their prices are going back to some kind of normality, and then we expect the situation to stabilize further in the next few weeks with more fruit coming from the other areas of Northern Europe, including the big countries like Poland and of course also Germany and Holland and the UK. So a difficult initial 5 months of the year, and we see now that coming back to normality. That's all from the market. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas, for the information about the market. Let's go back again to our guests. For Roger and Nikos, one of the things that we are already facing for a long time, and especially we feel from the confination that we had on COVID, the economics that come from there, also all the changes in the world with the variety change, the new genetics coming including yours, and also the resources like water that are scarce, we see that growers need to stay more profitable, more competitive, especially in markets that parts of we have too much fruits. So this also has impact on the return of sales for the growers. So what is your opinion about what can growers do on these topics, and how we could or should prepare for production with the shortage of labor and water resources?
Thanks, Jorge. So, in my
Roger,
opinion,
Nikos, if you have something to say about this thing, thank you.
thanks, Jorge. In my opinion, saleable yield is the king to being profitable. We've had many varieties, often very amazing varieties, that we've not released due to concerns over yield. Price, quite frankly, not or a lack of yield. So that's, for me, the key point that we've got to look at from all growers' perspective is we have to plant varieties that give us a yield that growers can actually be profitable at. There's no point planting a sexy variety if even a premium paid for it doesn't make up for lost yield. So that always means the starting point. Growers cannot afford also to plant varieties that are not commercially viable. In the past, many growers, including ourselves and on our own farms, took a chance on a variety or something looked sexy and we planted it, and we sort of hoped it was going to be successful. Unfortunately, the costs at the moment in terms of production and also the prices in the marketplace don't really allow for that luxury. So when you plant something, any grower, it has to be a variety that's been proven and tested and guaranteed of the results before it goes in the ground. As we grow, 70% of the production is our own production. The recommendations we make to our partners are the same recommendations that we follow. We have a very large in-house agronomy team and research and development team that test our varieties in all the locations that we grow in. And the focus is really to ensure that when we go to commercial scale, we have mitigated the risks as far as we can. As a company and as a breeding program, we focused on evergreen varieties that can be grown in warmer climates, and that's again mainly to ensure that production comes within a year, so growers can immediately start getting income in their first year of production. Planting a variety that you need to wait 2 years to start making some money off, again, in my opinion, is just not viable anymore. The other key is varieties have to be able to deliver you a marketable yield. So it doesn't help massive yield if you can't actually get it to the customer. So along with that comes resistance to diseases, resistance to pests, shelf life, firmness, size, of course, is a factor. And again, combining those gives the grower a fighting chance. In terms of Ozblu, we have many varieties, of course, but one of the varieties that we planted recently in Australia on a 1-year-old plant, and that was only planting from a 500 cc from the nursery. Our averaged saleable yield was 5.7 kilograms per plant in the first year. What's more significant about that is that 70% of the fruit was larger than 22 millimeters. And at that size, and getting a premium for that size and that yield, then growers really are making good money. Recently, the figures from Peru have been released, the industry figures, where these are independent figures. And I'm obviously very pleased because Ozblu Magica, one of our key varieties, again, is the number one selling variety out of Peru, achieving a premium of 22% above the second placed variety. So again, that's just great. And the beauty of that is Magica consistently produces over 40 tons a hectare. So when you're getting that kind of yield with the leading price in the market, of course, growers can make money. Water is a constant issue. Doesn't matter where we are in the world, water is going to be a challenge. And we at United Exports have focused on growing and developing in substrates. The substrate that we have now chosen to focus on globally, we've managed to use 30% less water. And now, while that's great on the water saving cost, that also means 30% less cost, 30% less pumping, 30% less labor, all to do with irrigation and fertigation. So it's a real key metric that I think all growers have to focus on. And I think we will continue to see how we can improve the economics in the field, because without that, none of us have a business.
George, may I add some points? Yep. Okay, so just following on a little bit from what Roger mentioned, with regards to the.
Can you also elaborate on the answer, complementing what Roger said?
Yep. So with regards to water, the two factors is water quantity, especially here in Southern Europe, in Spain and Portugal. We've been suffering some droughts with already 25% shortage in water allocation for growers, with potential risk of that going up to 50% by the 1st of September if we don't receive any rains. So again, growers are extremely concerned a little bit about the future if the rains don't come. So all new plantations, like Roger mentioned, will be going in bags or pots, where there's at least a 30% saving. But again, a lot of measures are being taken to control and basically give the plants what they really need with regards to water and selecting the right time of the day and the number of pulses and the length of the pulses to try to be as efficient as possible, so that the plants can utilize all that irrigation water. And with regards to water quality, as many of us know, Agadir has been a region that's developed a lot in the last few years. And again, the major issue there is the high level of salinity. So both growers are investing in reverse osmosis, and there is some government projects. So again, this is a concern going forward about the salt levels in the irrigation water, and obviously the cost of being able to desalinate this water. So this is a significant factor, and obviously blueberries are very sensitive to high levels of salts. So this has a negative effect on the plant and obviously the fruit quality. With regards to labor, especially in the first world, there is shortage of labor. Quite often it's not an attractive sector for people to come to work in agriculture, and especially for the harvesting. And also the costs are increasing. And as we all know, the labor aspect of the production cost is the number one cost. In the first world, it's normally accounting for 60, 65, up to 70% of the production cost, the labor. So again, we need to try to facilitate for the workers to make it attractive for them to come to work to the farms, but also facilitate and present the plants in a way which speeds up the picking speed. So again, things as trellising, the types of pruning we do, the varieties which we select, the density of plantations all help to try to increase picking speeds. And again, like Roger mentioned, with the objective to try to increase the percentage of marketable fruit. So we should be looking at least 90, 95% of the fruit on the bushes to be able to be harvested directly for export and not have to be selected out and go to waste. Okay, so I think it's a reality, and growers globally must realize that all production costs, major production costs, are increasing, be it labor, be it crop protection, be it fertilizers, be it logistics, are all increasing. Also, inflation is increasing, but also on the other side, we have a lot of pressure from the retailers. So growers need to become a lot more efficient. They need to make sure that they choose the right varieties, which is what the market is demanding. Look at varieties which can produce a little bit out of their normal window, so be it early genetics or be it slightly later genetics, to build onto the shoulders. Obviously, higher yielding varieties increase the percentage of marketable fruit, increase potentially the density of number of plants per hectare, and become very efficient and a very lean company to try to maintain their margins, because this is the reality of our business, that the returns back to grower will be constantly under pressure, and the production costs will keep on increasing. So it's up to the grower to become efficient in order to stay in business.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Nikos. As for the future, what do you expect to be the future of your organization? What efforts as a company is being done to become a leading player in the blueberries globally, and in particular on this segment you are targeting, the premium segment? Roger, what can you tell us?
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, look, we're very happy with our strategy. We believe that the recipe will prove long term and hold us in good stead for many years to come. It's a great advantage having a breeding program effectively in-house, and having the full value chain from breeding to selecting, growing, and then commercialization and sales. We've got the own agronomy team developing the recipes for the varieties, so we can guarantee the quality to the customers, and by focusing on putting our varieties in our brand that we stand behind, again, we are basically putting the stamp of our approval and our business on the line. But we feel that by doing that, we can give our customers confidence in their purchasing, by focusing on the breeding program's sort of initial requirements of producing varieties that are high yielding and profitable from a grower perspective. We ensure that the growers are profitable. So by having the sort of demand from the marketplace for good varieties, and coupling that with high yielding and profitability at a grower level, we believe that the company and the business is very sustainable for everybody that's involved. The final piece of the puzzle is really partnering up and growing and licensing the like-minded growers in different parts of the world that, I guess, share our vision and believe in the strategy that we've embarked on, ultimately to expand the volume that the customers or that our customers are looking for. We're in a very fortunate position that we don't ever have too many blueberries for the markets that we serve. So ultimately about trying to ensure that we can expand our production base to close that 52-week supply in all markets. And hopefully, Nikos, with the growers in Morocco and Spain and Portugal, that we can achieve that.
Europe and Northern Africa and Middle East, which are becoming, in particular for Europe, I think, a key origin in order to develop both the market and the production.
Sorry, Thomas, I don't know if that question was for me. I didn't hear the first part.
Yes, Nikos. Yes, it was for you. It's regarding how that global strategy translates into your particular area, Europe, including Morocco and the Middle East, which are becoming, in particular for the European market, some very key areas.
Yeah. Okay. So, Thomas, we are in a fortunate position that we have a strong position during half of the year, already supplying key retailers in the UK and continental Europe, and to a smaller level in the Middle East and Far East. So again, we have what I call the good problem, that we have already created this demand from the retailers during half of the year. And now the problem we have is that we must satisfy this supply for the other 6 months. So the demand is there. The varieties are very well known in the marketplace. The consumers like the varieties, but now it's a question of finding the right like-minded growers which are able to value the Ozblu genetics in order to develop and have the supply for the other 6 months of the year. So Morocco, like I mentioned, is strategically very important. It is the bridge to cross over from when we finish in the southern part of South Africa, which is the Western Cape area. So we will be starting in the southern part of Morocco in the months of November, going through to December, January, February. Then the idea is to move to the northern part of Morocco, where we will be from January through to May. And then obviously there will be Spain. Due to our early genetics, we're able to start again end of December through to early middle of June. And then Portugal for us is extremely strategic due to the unique microclimate. We're able to produce from November also all the way through to potentially July time. So the idea is to fill this 6-month window and then restart again once we finish in the central northern part of Portugal, northern part of Spain. We start again with countries such as Zimbabwe or the northern part of South Africa. So the important thing is that during all these 52 weeks, we are able to maintain consistency in quality and flavor in order to satisfy our customers. So this is what we're working on. And the idea is to keep on expanding, but the critical factor is to find the right partners. We are not a commercial nursery, so we're not just producing plants and selling plants. We are also managing all the sales and marketing of this fruit. So it's critical to look for the right partners which want to join us on this journey.
Yes, Thomas. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for the.
Yes, it's regarding genetics.
Okay.
No, sorry. Another question before. Yes. Being Ozblu a global brand, can you give us your thoughts on the future of harvesting blueberries? You already mentioned the problem of labor, especially in countries like Australia, USA, Spain, Portugal, where the labor is expensive and scarce. How do you see, can mechanical harvesting give a boost and help to not expand the production cost? And on the other side, how do you see the impact on quality of machine harvesting?
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah. So one of the key success ingredients of Ozblu is that Dave Mazardis was a farmer first and foremost, who then went into breeding. So from day one, when he's selecting varieties, he's always looking from a grower's perspective. They've got to be grower friendly. They've got to be profitable from a grower level. And being based with the breeding program based in Australia, where we have the highest minimum wage in the world, or if not the highest, it's definitely in the top 5 highest in the world. So breeding in this environment meant that, the cost of harvest and the cost of production has always been a key focus. Back in 2009, Dave started focusing on machine harvesting on no-till varieties. there's obviously varieties, northern high bush varieties do get harvested by machines already, but a very different process. What basically Dave decided to focus on, and he made machine harvesting a key pillar of the breeding program, to the point where we haven't released a variety since 2013 that does not have the ability to be harvested by machines. Dave was looking at it and believed that the first world markets, labor cost and labor availability, it would just not make it viable to sort of rely on hand harvesting to fill that gap. And so, the cost of production is in Australia, the cost of production and trying to harvest fruit by hand just kills you. So Dave started selecting varieties with the specific purpose of being machine harvested focus. He didn't believe in robotics or waiting for robotics. He wanted to breed varieties that you could use an off-the-shelf, relatively basic machine, but that the variety and the characteristics of the variety would cater to be able to be harvested for fresh. The focus started at the customer. When a customer picks up a punnet of blueberries in the shop, they mustn't be able to tell that it's been harvested by hand or harvested by machine. So the variety has got to be, bulletproof. It's got to be firm. It's got to be crunchy and all the nice eating attributes. And it's got to be able to be like that, even though it's been harvested by through a machine. The variety also still has to have the high yielding ability. You can't have a low yielding variety that can be harvested by machine. That kind of defeats the purpose. So those are the key focus areas and have been a focus, like I said, since 2009. We believe that we've achieved this successfully. COVID put a bit of a slowdown on some of the expansions, but we have developed and in the process of expanding 3 farms in Australia. And all of them are developed for 100% machine harvesting for fresh. To try and sort of give you a practical comparison about where do we see this going and what's the sort of advantage from a labor perspective. Nikos obviously mentioned 60% of the cost is labor. I was trying to think today when I was thinking about this interview, how to make it something that everyone can understand without going into all sorts of massive economics. But basically what we did last year, one of the tests that we did on one of our machine harvesting farms was we harvested the same variety the same day. We took 2 rows, we harvested it with a machine. It took us 15 minutes to harvest the 2 rows, and we used 3 workers to harvest the 2 rows. The next 2 rows we harvested by hand. We had 15 pickers, and it took us 2 hours to finish the same 2 rows. So, to sort of summarize that, 15 minutes, 3 people with a machine, 2 hours, 15 people without a machine. Of course, we wanted to test the market. We sent the fruits to the markets. We didn't tell the customers what they were getting. We just actually sent it to wholesale markets so it could be judged on facts. And we actually got a premium for the fruit harvested by machine because one of the problems when you harvest by hand is if people handle it too much, the bloom obviously gets disturbed. Whereas when the machines with the variety being harvested by machine and then going over an electronic grader, there's no hands touching the fruit all the way through to the end punnet. So the bloom remains 100% intact. The customers basically saw this as being fresh and therefore paid us a premium. So we weren't really expecting that, but clearly we were very happy with it. So we believe machine harvesting is absolutely going to be the future, especially in first world countries, Spain, Portugal, the USA, and Australia. They are markets that have good customers, good demand for blueberries, and the only obstacle is the cost of harvesting. So we believe with our machine harvesting genetics that we are going to be able to dramatically change the profitability for growers, and actually dramatically change areas that we can grow in, because current areas that potentially would be unviable or uneconomical due to their timing in the season in relation to the price of the fruit for that part of the year, when you factor in the cost of production using machine harvested varieties, all of a sudden it becomes very, very viable again. So we see machine harvesting being critical to blueberry production in first world countries in the future, and we actually believe that hand harvesting will become obsolete in years to come. So hopefully we position for that, and hopefully the growers can benefit from that.
Thank you, Roger. Nikos, you have also in Europe some experience with machines. You have seen some machines, some models. From what you already know, what's being developed under the Ozblu umbrella, do you think the combination, what you see now in the market of machines, it's already suitable for the varieties, or that can be adaptable? What is your opinion on that? Because we already have some companies in Europe trying to develop and bring that to the growers, and you might have seen something that could be also helpful for the.
Yeah. So George, clearly there is an appetite, and I would say
Nikos?
almost.
Okay.
Yeah. So George, I would say that all growers realize that this is going to be one of the major limiting factors to future growth or sustainability to be able to continue on with this business. And clearly labor, like I mentioned before, due to its high percentage of its cost in the overall total cost, this is where let's say the big win is. What I'm seeing at the moment is that it's mainly mechanical harvesting machines which are being brought more from the northern high bush, let's say, sector, where clearly we know that the concentration of the ripening is a lot more, as opposed to the lower chill varieties. They have a much longer period. Therefore, there isn't this certain concentration. So we are trying to adapt a machine which is not really been designed for a completely different kind of genetics. That's why I think it's not working at the moment. As we know, also in places like Oregon and Washington, normally they're doing the first pick or two picks by hand, and then they're going through for processing or for industry. So I think there still needs to be a lot more work to be done, but specifically focusing for the type of genetics we are growing. So yeah, I think this is the future, and it's not a nice to have, but it's going to be a necessity. And we are talking about very significant savings with no detriment or negative effects at all on quality, because clearly we cannot have fruit which has been bruised or split or losing its bloom because being harvested by mechanical harvesting. So I'm extremely excited about the future. Again, there is a few different factors. One thing, and the major thing is obviously the right genetics. Secondly is obviously having the right machine which adapts those genetics, but obviously the right production system in order for that machine to correctly be able to go in and harvest that fruit. So it's a few different factors. And again, like Roger mentioned, the 3 farms which have been set up in Australia are specifically designed and built with mechanical harvesting in mind. So it's not going to be necessarily easy to adapt a present farm to mechanical harvesting, but either some major changes will have to be made, or all new farms going forward will be designed and built with mechanical harvesting in mind. But for sure, it's a must. It's not a nice to have, but it's a definite must. And I'm extremely excited that Dave Mazzaris, he's a visionary, and he could see that this was going to be a problem to come in the first world, and already he started selecting out his varieties with this in mind. So I'm pleased to say that the varieties of Ozblu that we have already have this trait available.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you, Roger. Now, last question before the wrap up. As we all know, genetic has been changing completely the world of blueberries, especially in the Soronai bush with the no chill and low chill. And we can see more future of blueberry growing in terms of consumption and also completely what is the traditionally fruit size and flavor types that we've seen before in the northern bush in the more standard genetics. What do you think, both of you, it's important to blueberry consumption and have much more household penetration in countries that don't have the tradition of consuming blueberries? What do you think it could be a good strategy to increase that consumption?
So the biggest challenge we have with blueberry
Difficult
consumption
question, eh?
No, I don't think so. I think the biggest problem we have with blueberry consumption globally is disappointment from a customer level. Obviously, because being involved in the industry, we spend a lot of time looking at blueberries and comparing blueberries. And there's a lot of blueberries that are what we would term the older type of blueberries, and thereby I mean, relatively small in size, often with average flavor, and more often than not a tendency to go soft or be soft. And in today's world, there's really no place for that in what consumers actually expect and demand. If we look, I always like to look at the seedless grape market. If you look at white seedless grapes, we had wonderful varieties, or we thought they were wonderful and they were acceptable in terms of things like Thompson seedless, and then came Sugar One that was so much better, and along came a variety like Autumn Crisp from Sunworld, or Sweet Globe from IFG, and they totally take over the marketplace. You've got a big, white grape, seedless, firm, crunchy, good shelf life, and customers will pay for it, and will turn away from other grape varieties. And I think that's really our challenge in blueberries is the penetration. The only thing stopping our penetration is disappointment from the customers. So we need to ensure that we are able to deliver customers that. And the only way to do that is to be able to give them the right genetics and the right qualities that they want. People often ask me, what I think of this competing blueberry or this competing breeding program, and my answer is always the same. I actually don't see breeding programs as a competitor if they are providing growers with good quality varieties that the customers want. Because if we are able to sell good quality varieties to the customers, it's going to increase the penetration for everybody involved in the industry. Our only competitor, true competitor, is poor eating varieties that turn customers away from our category. And blueberries are such a wonderful product. The health benefits, the snacking ability of the fruit, kids love them. The only thing that will stop the penetration that we can achieve is by giving consumers poor quality fruit. And unfortunately, there's still most of the blueberries currently produced don't meet those metrics. And so I think there's a huge opportunity to improve the offer that we give to customers and to improve the offer that we put on the table. And if we can do that, I think that will give us great penetration. We've also seen size of blueberries coming through. There was a period of time when a lot of customers said, "Oh no, they don't believe that size will necessarily translate into additional sales or indeed premium sales." From Ozblu's side, we see this very much a core factor now. We get a significant premium in the USA market for jumbos and for super jumbos. We get a significant premium in Australia for jumbos and super jumbos. We get a significant premium in Asia for super jumbos and jumbos. We get a premium in Europe is coming because a lot of customers used to associate large fruit with it being soft. In Ozblu, we provide the customers with very large fruit that is still firm, crunchy, and fantastic flavored fruit. And when you put that on the table, then all of a sudden you open a whole new segment in the marketplace. And we believe that will continue to grow. We have a number of varieties that produce really large sizes, and we have some varieties where we separate jumbos into 22 to 25 mil berries, and then we pack a super jumbo pack of 25 mil and larger, which is huge, but the consumers respond to it. So I think there's massive opportunity still, a massive penetration, but it's going to rely on us giving the customers what they want. And that doesn't matter whether it's an Ozblu variety or one of the other breeding programs, as long as it is what customers want and is able to give that. And key to that is that it's got a yield that the grower, the ability to make money at the same time. Otherwise, it's not going to be planted either.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Nikos. Any complement answer? What is your experience in the Northern Europe also, which is the main market for most of the producers of blueberries from Africa? What is your feeling also, adding to the words of Roger on this?
Yeah, so for me, George, for increasing penetration, I think good quality fruit and good genetics will always have a home and will always have the doors open. As consumers, we all like nice tasting things, and we wish to repeat the purchase. The issue is when we have a bad experience and then we have a doubt if to repeat the purchase again. So I think for premium genetics of good quality fruit, there is a huge potential, and I have absolutely no concerns about present consumers increasing the frequency of the purchases and new consumers and new countries coming onto the radar. I always like to use the example in North America, they are consuming over 1 kilo of fresh blueberries per annum per year. And here in the Northern Europe and the UK, I think they're only around about 350, 400 grams. And in Southern Europe, I think only around about 40 grams. So there's a huge opportunity to increase consumption. It's all about having the right quality fruit in order to satisfy. And again, there's going to be different moments in the day when blueberries will be consumed. Whilst traditionally they were consumed only as maybe a dessert, but now we are seeing more on-the-go snacks. Again, new types of packaging allow for fruit to be taken in the hands or in packed lunch boxes. Some of the older generations now consuming more blueberries due to the health benefits, helping with prostate and helping with vision. And then again, young children are now eating blueberries as a substitute or as an alternative to eating candy and sweets. So I think, I can only see the consumption increasing, but the key factor is to have the right varieties and the right quality to support that.
Yes, thank you, Nikos and Roger. I think that when we started this conversation, Roger was mentioning that the quality was coming mainly from, as a start, with a given and tested and guaranteed production method. And I think everything we have said so far today starts from that point of view. So the varieties are key, and the grower needs to have a crop which is economically viable. And then after that, we have gone into very interesting details. I think that we have covered a lot of things which would be interesting to talk more in depth. And we have spoken about the new genetics, in particular for the warmer climates, which allow to quickly go into production. You have mentioned that you have tests with the varieties on the first year going into production with 5.7 kilo per plant, and this is a key factor for a grower. And you have mentioned varieties which have a 22% premium within the same country of origin, which is Peru, which is also very important. I think you have covered also important factors like which are more of general interest, like the shortage of labor, which you are targeting with the genetics which allow to do mechanical harvesting, which will be a key factor. I definitely agree with what you said. And also genetics which help in saving water resources, which is another key factor for our planet. Overall, I think that it will be interesting to focus all these points, and that there will always be a market for premium varieties, in particular if the premium varieties come at a nice and reasonable prices for everybody, because as a consumer we are all fed up really with the expensive varieties or expensive fruit on the shelves which doesn't taste or is soft. So I think that focusing on the premium varieties is definitely the key to develop the market. And I live in Italy, and most of the fruit we get on the shelves is not really good enough. And nevertheless, the consumption is rising every year. So I'm really convinced that in the next 3 years, we will see the whole market changing very rapidly. And we will see a second boost of consumption, both in Europe and also in other parts of the world, given this huge opportunities of the premium varieties. And I think that working together, everybody in that direction, which is consumers being more aware, retailers being more aware, more genetics available to the growers, which makes sense from an economic point of view, will be very, very beneficial to the whole industry. And I think we are entering the phase 2 of the blueberry market, and we will see a nice development over the next 5 to 10 years. So thanks for joining us, Roger and Nikos. George, I leave to you the final word for this very nice and interesting and forward-looking conversation.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Nikos and Roger, for making time for us. It's always a pleasure to have a good conversation about what is the world of berries, in this case, the blueberries in the segment that you are working. Thank you, our viewers, to be with us on this close to an hour conversation. It's always interesting to have a long conversation with very interesting personalities from the industry. So we wrap up now the 11th episode from the very top. We hope to see more people joining our episodes next episode. And thank you for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.